Hey everyone, Jesse here for 3Prong Gaming. And in the last episode, what did we do in the last? We set up we did a basic design for our main user interface. It is very simplistic, however, it will do what we need to do to progress forward, to be able to, it's going to set up some buttons for us, etc., etc. We put the calendar and date at time down here. And yeah, so in this episode, we will start adding some of the functionality to the widget. Primarily, we're going to try to set the clock and the calendar to hook up. Depending on time, we're at least going to get one of them hooked up. So let's get this started. First things first, let's go ahead and create a new folder in our main folder here. Let's go ahead and call this interfaces. Go into the interface, right click, select blueprint interface. Let's go ahead and call this one I_HUD. Yeah, that'll work. Open that up. And our first function here, let's call this one set clock. Let's do an input down here. Let's go ahead and call this one, we'll call this one that's time. Hit enter. We'll make it of type integer and set it as an array. Now, if you don't know much about interfaces, I did another video on tips and tricks on using an interface. We're going to go a little more in depth on what we're doing with interfaces in this episode than I did in there, but it will give you a basic idea of what interfaces are all about, so go check that out. Now for the output, let's go ahead and make a new output and make this, we'll just call this success. We're not going to really use this variable. You can make it a boolean, not an array, and save it. Let's make a new function. I'll explain why we're making an output in just a minute. Call this one set calendar, and new input. Call this one date. Again, make it of type integer and make it an array. Output, again, success, non-array, and a boolean. Perfect. Compile, save it. Let's go ahead and close this up. We're not going to need that again this episode. And just in case we have enough time, let's set this up now. Go back in here. Let's make another folder, and we will call this one enums. Yeah, there we go, enums. Go ahead and open up that folder. Right-click, blueprints, enumeration. Let's call this one month names _ enum. There you go. Control S. Open that up. Now what we need to do, this is like the name implies, it's the name of the month. So we need 12 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, as you can see, as we put this out here, see how it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 11. That's because this is good to know for future, is this is a zero-based when we go to draw this out. So if we want January, we're going to have to call for index 0 and December index 11. So it's good to know that ahead of time. Now, I'm not going to show you this whole thing. It's pretty simple. January. Go ahead and do that same thing for this entire enumeration, and I'll see you in just a second. All right, there we go. We got our enumeration set up. Go ahead and save it. Close it out. We won't need to open that up again, probably ever. And let's see, let's go ahead and go into our HUD. We're going to need our game state real quick. Go ahead and open that up. Let's go ahead and we need to class settings, add our interface here, iHUD, compile it and save it. And then from here, let's see where we're at. We're in the calendar. So let's go ahead and add an interface call here. This is the function. We don't want to set the function here. So just drag or right click. Let's call this one set. Where is it? Come on. Why is my keyboard? There we go. Holy cow. Lag much. Set. Let's do it again. Set. Oops. Calendar. Set calendar. We need an which one do we need? We need a message. Go ahead and unclick context sensitivity. Select that one. And there we go. Go ahead and plug in the execution pin, then just drag right off of this and put it into there. Now we need a reference to, you see here, we get an error. We need a reference to our, what we're sending this to. We're going to send it to the user interface. So let's go ahead and jump into the event graph. And we had already made a reference to this on our player controller. So that's where we're going to grab it from. Go ahead and right click, type get player controller. There it is. Select that. Then we're going to cast to our custom player controller here. Cast. Oh, turn context sensitivity back on. There it is, camera pawn controller. Throw that into here. And we will need to create another variable. Let's call this one controller reference. Oh, I've already got one. Haven't set it. To be honest, I've already recorded this episode once and had to do it again, so this I forgot to delete. It's already set up. Variable controller ref to type camera pawn controller. Let's go ahead and drag that in here, and we will set that. And then just set up the execution pin right there. Compile, save it. Let's go back into the calendar. Now we will take that camera or the controller reference, not hook it up into there like I just did. There's Alt, clear that out. Drag off of this and do main UI main. There it is, main HUD reference. Get it. Boy, I am on a roll. Hopefully I don't have to re-record this one because I'm screwing up so bad. All right. There we go. Now we're not going to worry about the success. What the success would do if we wanted to use this, we could pull off of this, and if this function is successful, then we can execute, we can run a branch or something after there. But yeah, that's how that one works. Now compile it, save it. It's good to go. Go ahead and jump into the clock, and let's do the same thing with this one. We need set HUD what do we call that one? Set clock message. Plug it in. Grab our controller reference. Get it. Context sensitive again. What are we doing here? Controller reference. There it is, main HUD reference. Drag that in. Boy, it's going to be one of those days, isn't it? All right, drag the time, put it into there, compile it, save it. Now let's close game, see, we shouldn't need that again. Let's jump into our main UI widget. Let's go ahead and set the clock. There's a bug with this, and I'll try to explain that when we get to it. So let's what we need to do here is click on the text of the hour. Now what we need to do for the text, we need to create a binding. Select bind, create new binding, and just rename this one get hour. And we're going to need to do this for all of these. So I'm going to fast forward through this. I'm going to go ahead and set all of them for this one. I'll call this one get month, get day, get year, get minute. And this one I'll call get AM, PM. So while I do that, you go ahead and set yours up as well. All right, now we've got all our getters set up here that are bound to our text blocks. Compile it, save it just to make sure. Let's go ahead and start with, let's start with setting up our interface function. We need to go to class settings. We need to implement our function. Go click add iHUD. And then by doing that, you'll see compile save. Now we have our interface functions. We're starting with the clock, so go ahead and double click that. By putting the output pin, for one, we don't get a warning, but we get a note put on the interface if we don't have an output pin, and it doesn't hurt anything. It's just a note, but it's still very ugly and distracting, and I don't like it. So just do the success. You don't have to do anything with it, but by also doing that, it makes it into a pure function, so we don't actually have to make a reference call to it. It's already right here. So we need two variables. Go ahead, not local variables. We need regular variables. Call this one game time. Make it of type integer, array, editable, and actually no, we don't need that editable. Another variable, game date, and it's already set up for us. Compile, save it. So pretty much all we need to do is take the game time, hook it up into here, plug it in. That's all this needs to do for us. And just because to be in habit, go ahead and click success. We're not going to use that pin, but yeah, call it OCD, whatever you want to call it. All right, set clock is done. Now we need to set calendar. Open that up. Same thing here. Just take our date, plug it in, click success, and that one's good to go. Compile it, save it. Let's go ahead and jump into our hour here. And we'll get our game time. Go ahead and pull this out, get it. Extend this out a little bit here. Now we need to get index number 2 because that's where our hour is at. If you remember from the episode where we set up this one, what was it? This is episode 7, I think. So that was episode 5 where we set up our game clock. You'll remember that the hour is index 2. So go ahead and let's see. Do we need? I've got my cheat sheet over here. I think we do need. Nope, let's just do a local variable right here. Inside this function, click local. We'll call this one hour. We don't need it of an array. Close this. That's a bug right there as well. And we need to set the hour. This is only local. It's only available to this function, but we need it to pull this out and store it just so it keep things nice and neat. Plug it in there. Now take our hour as a get it out here. Now we need to check to see if this is greater than 12. This will take us off the 24-hour clock. And if you're not in the military, you probably don't want a military clock or a 24-hour clock. So we will fix that right here. Put in a branch, hold B and click in the graph, plug this into here. Now, if it is true, what we need to do is take our hour and set it to hour, get it, minus integer, and we will put this number into, come on, 12. I don't know why my system is lagging a little bit. Normally doesn't do that. And then plug that into the new set of the hour. That'll set everything for us, minus 12. So if it's 13, then it'll become 1 o'clock. So simple as that. We take this, we can just plug this straight into the return node. Now, if it's not, let's go ahead and run another branch. Hold B, click that false, run this into another branch. Now we need to take our hour, get it, and we need to check to make sure not equal to integer. I hit the exclamation point to get the not equal to. We need to make sure it's not equal to 0. If it is 0, then, well, it becomes midnight. That's midnight, right? So we need to compensate for that. Throw that over there. And then all we'll do here is we'll take the hour, we will set it to 12. So if it is not equal to 0, which would be the true, then we'll keep it like it is. But if it is equal to 0, meaning this fails, then we will set the hour to 12 because it will be midnight. Go ahead and take this, plug that into the end, and then the true we'll just take and we'll plug straight into the end as well. Probably a better way to hook this all up. Let's go like this. Go like that. Yeah, looks a little nicer. Not much, but a little bit. All right. Oops. Now for the return value here, we take the hour, get it, and then we need to transform this to text. Text from integer right there. And then plug that into the return value. There we go. Hours are set. Go ahead and compile it, save it. Let's go on to the minutes. All right, for the minutes, going to be a little more involved because if you noticed when we were testing it, single digits were just single digits. We don't want that, all the single digits. We need to set to double digits. So we're going to need a couple local variables here. Go ahead and select local variable. We'll call this one minutes, and we will leave it of type integer. Another local variable. Again, local variables are just used in the function you're using them in. They're not accessible by anywhere. So it makes things like this a little easier. Let's call this one minutes text. And we will change this to type string. Close that. I hate it that opens up. That is a bug in the system. I thought they would have had it fixed by the time they released 4. Oh, and if I haven't said already, I am on version 4.9. I actually updated in the last episode, and I don't think I mentioned it in there. All right, so let's grab our game time again. Let's get it. Now we're using minutes, so we need to get index 1. Slide that over here. Now we need to take our minutes as a set and then just plug this straight into minutes. Move this a little further out of the way. We're going to need some space here. Grab a branch. Hook that up. Now our condition for the branch is we take our minutes, get, and then pull out. If minutes are less than integer, now we need to check if it is less than 10. So in other words, it's a single digit number is what we're checking here. If it is, then we need to take our minute text, set it, take our minute text up here, get it. We need to append. There it is right there. Append the string. And we need to bring our minute value out here, get it. And then we need to convert it to a string. So toString, right? That's what we need. Yep, toString. And then just plug it into B. So now it'll take our minutes text, which our default value, I believe, needs to be, yep, we need to take our default value text and just make it a 0. All right. Hit enter. There we go. So now it'll take this, which is a 0, and add the minutes to it, append it to the end of it. And we'll take this and plug it into set minute text. And then if it is not equal to 10, then we need to set our minute text to this. Let's just go ahead and Control W that and plug that in. So it'll just become what our minutes is. And then we'll just plug both these right into the return node. And the return value will be the minute text, get it. But now we need to, this is a string, we need to convert it to, and the reason why I made this a string instead of a text is because I don't think you can append text. You can only append your strings. So that's why I did that. So drag that off, and we need to go, we'll just type in text to text. There we go. Plug that in there. And we are done with the minutes. Let's go ahead and compile it, save it, and let's move on to AM, PM. All right, we're gonna need another local variable right here. Select it, we will call this one AM, PM, and this one we can make of type text, so we don't have to do any conversions. That one is fine. Compile it, save it. Now we need our game time again, get it, pull off, get, and we need index 2 actually. We're not going to pull off seconds. We're not worried about seconds at all in this. If you want to incorporate seconds, you are more than welcome to do so. Just follow these steps, add the extra functionality and design to the graph, and or to the designer, and you'll be good to go. You can figure that out from here. I'm not going to incorporate it. So get our hour. Remember, 2 is our hour. So we need to do, if the hour is greater than or equal to 12. Throw a branch in here. Throw a branch in there. And plug that in. If it's greater than 12, then we need to switch it to PM. So go ahead and grab this. We're going to need this one twice. So go ahead and throw them both in there. We'll just hook up the execution pins like this. Like that. That'll work. Move these over just a smidge. So now we need to just set, we don't have to plug anything in. If it is greater than or equal to 12, then we need to set this to PM. I'm putting them in both caps. And then if it's not, then it needs to be AM. Then we take this and just plug this into the return value. We're good to go. So now we can go ahead and check this out, and we're 21 minutes into it. Man, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to do our calendar. I don't think we will. I'll probably end this right here. Calendar, same process. You can probably go ahead and try to figure that out on your own. Let's go ahead and test this. Press play. There we go. Calendar's not set up there. We did the functionality for it. That's why it's blank and it's not showing our default text. But yeah, so you can see the PM switch. Now it's back to AM. We got double digits for our time right there. Perfect. That works just like we want. This obviously isn't hooked up yet, nor are these. Cool. So that works. Our time would be or our date is incrementing. We just haven't hooked it up yet. So next episode, we'll get our calendar set up for sure. And then hopefully we'll at least get, we'll set up some on-click events for our buttons right here. And yeah, because I think setting up the date's going to probably take about as much time as this. But the process is the same. I'm confident you could probably figure it out if you really wanted to. But yeah, I'll show that up in the next episode. And as always, if you like this video, please do me a favor, go down and hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it while you're down there liking it. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Should be there on the page. And until the next episode, peace.